Hello and welcome to Numeril. I'm your host, Damon the Real Nailer. We have a critical and exciting episode in store for you today. Last week, we talked about the concept of 2020 vision, and we promised that this week we would look at part two. So that's what we're going to do. And looking at last week's episode, we looked at three types of sight: foresight, insight, and oversight. And I promised that this week we would delve into the two here that we looked at last week. So just to recap, foresight was the ability to see ahead, to forecast, and to project. And insight is the ability to see beneath, to discern, and to detect. Why are these so important? They're important because the times we're living in, we have to be able to see the big picture of what's going on and where we're headed. And then we have to see underneath the surface, because everything that's being put on the surface isn't so. And in starting there, one thing that has been revealed to me is the fact that a biological agent has been released into the atmosphere, meaning this current situation, this current crisis that we're facing it was concocted and it was coordinated, it was planned. And a lot of the information we're getting is just not correct. And with that being stated, we want to adhere to the guidelines that they're giving us as far as the social distancing, quarantining, making sure you're washing your clothes, you're drying your clothes, and that you're washing your hands and doing all of those things. But we must be aware that it's really not being transmitted like we think it is, not just by the sneezes and the coughs and things of that nature, but it's actually in the atmosphere. With that being said, we want to be able to boost our immune system in order to defeat this thing. Why is the immune system so important? That is our divine as well as our natural mechanism for preventing and fighting diseases. Let me say that again. It's divine. God created it, and it's natural. It's the normal way, and it's a normal mechanism we have for preventing and fighting diseases. I'm amazed that all of the medical experts and all of the smart people who are giving all of this information and guidelines are not mentioning this. Because even if you're washing your clothes, you're washing your hands, you're social distancing and all of that, as I stated, because it's in the atmosphere, there's still a chance that you might inadvertently come into contact with it. So what do we need to do? We need to make sure our immune systems are built and prepared and strong enough to resist it, even if we come into contact with it. So how can we do that? These are just some suggestions: vitamin C and D. You can add zinc to your diet. You also want to use lemons and hot water, and then ginger and hot water. And you can look up more ways to boost your immune system. But that is the key. In addition to all of the other things, we have to make sure our immune systems are boosted. Now, you might be asking yourself, man, what is going on? This is crazy. We're told to stay inside. We're having a social distance. The country's basically locked down in certain parts. And it's just crazy. Well, here's what's going on. They're creating a context and a justification for microchipping. And these are three things we're about to start seeing happen more and more as the time draws nigh to the end. And so, first of all, we're going to see things that are going to affect our safety. That's going to deal with homeland security, terrorism, mass shootings, identity theft, vaccinations, and medical identification. So they're going to really start promoting, and you're going to just start seeing all kinds of events happen that are going to fall into this category, where it's going to be all about we need to be safer. Then we're going to see things happening in the health arena. So dealing with healthcare systems, pharmaceutical companies, epidemics, pandemics, and the Bible calls the pandemics pestilences. This is all confirmation that we're in the end of days and the beginnings of sorrows. So this is God's word being fulfilled. We know the how, or we know what was going to happen, but now we're seeing the how is transpiring. And then last but not least, we're going to see things that are going to happen in the financial arena, dealing with finances. So global financial systems, the stock market, and then cashless societies. That's the ultimate goal of where they're trying to get us to in the years and months to come. So the solution for all of those three things, the safety, the medical field, and then the finances is going to be microchipping, which is going to eventually become the mark of the beast once the Antichrist comes into power. So here are the methods of persuasion they're going to use to justify it. First of all, safety. The argument will be that it will provide safety for children and individuals' identities. In essence, we won't really be able to have our identity stolen because you have a chip inside of you. It's not like somebody can go online and take your chip, or if you lose your ID or lose your wallet. No, it's going to be implanted in you, so hey, your identity is foolproof. And then also will assist in crime and terrorism prevention for everyone. In essence, if we have these marks, then they can identify the terrorists. They could keep track of their movements, where they are, what they're doing. And as we see at the end of this year, the real ID is one of the steps in this direction. It's all a part of the big picture and the plan. The next method of persuasion is going to be that it causes disease detection and prevention. It will be capable of detecting major pestilences. Let me say that again. This chip will be able to detect major pestilences. Without it, you will be susceptible to contracting certain deadly diseases. Also, this device will be able to determine who has or has not been tested for diseases. Ironically, this is happening right now. They are pushing for this type of chipping to be implanted in people so they can know who's been tested for this virus and who hasn't. I'm telling you, it's not by coincidence or accident. Then last but not least, the last method of persuasion is going to be convenience. And then instead of having money or a credit card, you can just have your right hand or forehead scanned. That's when the actual mark is going to come in. This will prevent identity theft and misplacement of cash. One of the main objectives, which is leading us into the mark of the beast, is the concept of a cashless society. Now watch this. Sweden is close to becoming one of the first countries to become truly cashless. In March of 2023, Sweden is projected to become the first cashless country. There, over half of the banks no longer have cash on hand. I'm telling you guys, it's all setting up. And I thought that was the last one, my mistake. But we have the final method of persuasion, which is simply this: force. Eventually, regardless if we disagree with the aforementioned reasons, we will have to possess it to buy or sell. I need you to notice, those of us who are American citizens, in the U.S., the FDA has already approved for the RFID or microchipping use in humans since 2004. That means for 16 years, this has been already approved by the FDA. So that means it's not a matter of whether we're going to do it, if we're going to do it. It's just a matter of when. It's already approved. All it has to do is be submitted to Congress and approved, and it goes into law. And then you have to have this chip in order to buy and sell and survive. And we've already seen videos. There was a company in Wisconsin where they were actually having a party and celebrating being chipped. And this is happening all over the world. But this is where we're heading. This is the foresight. This is the insight. You need to know exactly what's going on. And God's word has outlined it and gave us the what, but now we're seeing the how. We're seeing all of how all of these puzzle pieces are coming together and fitting to make that whole, because we're in the last days. But I want to let you know, make sure you're praying, make sure your life is right with God. We're praying for those who are directly affected by it, who may be sick, who may have lost a loved one. Our prayers are with you, and we ask, praying that God will strengthen you and comfort you, but also that we'll be prepared and that we'll take the necessary precautions so that we can make it through this challenging situation. We truly thank you for tuning in. I pray that you really receive some foresight and insight today, and you kind of have a better understanding of what's going on. But I believe God is going to bring us through it, and we're going to come out victorious. So spread the word about it. Continue to tune in, because we have some great and exciting episodes coming up. Be blessed in Jesus' name.